Attention please. This uploading is only for educational purpose. No intention to infringe copyrights. Learning English with subtitles. GPITRAL. Follow us.
It was just an eerie feeling. You could feel it. Something watching us out the window of that shed.
A face appears at the window.
A dark presence was creeping into their lives. Tammy did not want to cross paths with whatever it was. She kept her children close.
I stopped going out at night. I liked to sit outside in the evenings, but after that I wouldn't go outside anymore, and I didn't let my kids go outside at night by themselves.
But one night, Tammy got home a little after dark.
Come here, Kevin. All right, down we go. You ready?
What are you looking at?
What is it?
When I turned around, there was a creature standing there. It was laughing. I was scared to death.
A wooded mountainside.
In the foothills of California's Sierra Mountains, a little bit of evil is lurking. Something tiny, but terrifying. Monsters aren't necessarily big. Sometimes something sinister comes in a small package.
Gnomes have been reported all over the world. There are different names for them: trolls, goblins, elves, but they're all basically the same type of creature.
They're small, children-sized creatures, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad.
Gnomes, if they're angered, will take it out on people. Anything from something mischievous like tying animals' tails together to as far as eating household pets.
The little ones, when they're good, are supposed to be guardians and they bring you good luck, but the bad ones are supposed to be an omen of something very bad.
A full moon.
It was probably one of the bad ones that Tammy Thomas encountered on a night in 1999 as she arrived home.
Stand right here while I get the groceries.
My grandson and I had come home from grocery shopping.
After taking her grandson out of the car and unloading the groceries,
Gavin?
Tammy lost track of the boy.
Gavin? Gavin!
The child is staring. What are you looking at?
What is it?
When I turned around, there was a creature standing there, looking at us. I don't know how to describe it, other than it looked like an evil garden gnome.
All I see is these big, glowing red eyes. I just froze because I didn't know what was going on.
We were probably about 25, 30 feet away. I was scared to death, more scared than I'd ever been. I know it was evil by the way it laughed at us. It cackled. I grabbed my grandson and ran into the house as fast as we could go.
Legends about gnomes are pervasive around the world. Even the California Indian tribes in the Porterville area tell stories about a gnome-like monster known as the water baby.
Water babies are creatures that live in the Tule River in Porterville, California. One story that I know about water babies, this man had gone into the forest and he was walking along the creek, and when he got back to his car, all his tires had been popped, and the little footprints around the tires were little tiny ones, and so he believed a water baby had done it to him on purpose.
They're small, they're powerful in their own certain way, and if you anger them, they will take it out on you.
They are known to creep into the area where you're sleeping at night and smother you, causing your death.
When Tammy Thomas encountered a gnome,
Girls!
she felt her home had been invaded, her family under attack.
My grandson was shaking. He was crying. He was scared to death.
They managed to get safely inside, but the gnome wasn't leaving.
We heard something at the window. I could still hear it laughing, that croaking, gurgly laugh. And we could see under the shades the top of the creature's hat. And I pulled the cord to let the window blind down. And
She rubs her neck, looking upset, and shakes her head. Reenactment of her opening the curtains and seeing a gnome's face at the window. She leaps back.
What is that?
It's just sitting outside the window, and that freaked us out. I remember just freaking out and screaming, "What is that? What is that?"
I was afraid that it was going to try to come in the house
Go upstairs now!
and get one of my kids. I ran, made sure all the doors were locked, made sure all the windows were locked. And there, I didn't know what to do. I knew if I tried to call the police, I'd be laughed at.
Come here, Gavin. Come here, baby.
We all slept in the same room that night. I wouldn't let him out of my sight.
Despite its fairy tale apparel, Tammy knew in a flash something supernatural had come to call. And it showed no signs of moving on.
I was still terrified because I knew it was still out there somewhere. I was afraid that it was going to try to come in the house.
Caption: Monsters and Mysteries. A town in a valley.
In the foothills of the Sierras, in the town of Porterville, California, Tammy Thomas and her family spent months under siege against a mini monster, an evil gnome.
Elf! Where are you?
First, a terrifying attack outside her home. Then, 2 nights later, it struck again.
My grandson and I were sitting on the couch and watching TV when we heard some of the plant pots on the back deck fall off the rail.
She leaves the couch.
And a couple of seconds later, we heard the door. And when we went to look, it was the creature. And as soon as it saw us looking at it, it disappeared. I don't know if it ran, it just disappeared.
Morning. She's in the garden.
The next day, Tammy found her garden pulled apart.
It wasn't just once, and it wasn't just twice. It kept happening.
Over the next few months, the creature stalked Tammy and her family mercilessly. Eventually, Tammy saved up enough to move out.
We moved out as fast as we could and never looked back. But I never stopped thinking about the gnome.
Tammy struggled to make sense of what she had experienced. And she turned to the internet for help, posting her encounter on a blog. Jason Offutt's website is often a forum for people plagued by strange, inexplicable encounters. Another woman named Charlie had contacted Jason about a sinister gnome that had run her family out of their home.
When I interviewed her, I kept putting together the closeness to the river, the description of the house, the fact that this creepy shed was there. So I put them in contact with one another.
2 stories about evil gnomes, then an amazing discovery.
We started talking back and forth, and she gave me the address.
Oh my god.
I was shocked. I didn't know what to think. It was the same house.
Charlie had rented the house some years before. Same house, same gnome.
It made me feel like I wasn't crazy because somebody else had seen the same thing. I was terrified because I knew then that it was real.
Tammy and Charlie got together and went out to the house, and they'd found the shed had been torn down.
The shed was gone. The evil gnome evicted.
All we saw was one, but I think that there's more out there somewhere. It's still always in the back of my mind. There's always that little bit of fear that sometime it might come back.
Reenactment of the women leaving the remains of the shed. Behind their backs, the gnome's hand appears on a piece of timber. A map of California.
260 miles south, the Sierras give way to another inland California wilderness. A place where scrub mountains mix with the barren Mojave. And perched improbably in all this wasteland, the resort town of Palm Springs.
Well, the wilderness is very close in Palm Springs because there are a lot of washes which harbor, a lot of wild animals, coyotes particularly. A lot of places get lost, a lot of canyons, a lot of trails, a lot of places you can't identify, exactly where you are.
A lot of animals travel the path of least resistance, so if they were to travel down out of the mountains and follow the path of the washes in these dry riverbeds, it would certainly make sense. And so they would travel from the remote, rugged regions down these washes and end up in a civilized area where they may be sighted.